Hey guys, welcome to the video. Today we are doing NWOpening number 69. Yeah! And it is the basic 141 LA Knight Chase figure. Now, I have been hoping for this for a very long time now. Back when he was in NWA, I decided I wanted to make a custom of him. And then, with my usual lack of attention span and lack of filming figure fed stuff and all that kind of thing, I never did get around to finishing it off before the basic was announced, and eventually the, of course, basic existed. But I've wanted this figure since he was in NWA, and back when NWA was good, which is a long time ago now, and I'm so glad to finally have it. I don't normally deal with basics. He's not the first basic we've ever NW-opened, but they are a rare breed because they're just impossible to animate with, really. However, that ties into one of the reasons why I did buy this basic, as well as the fact that I just wanted a figure of him, and as well as the fact that I'm a massive mark for bright yellow plastic, is that curiosity for the new basic leg articulation, which seems to be a huge upgrade on how the figures were. So yeah, really cool to pick this up. Part of what I wanted him for back in the day was I was going to do an NWA pic fed. It was going to be like pure Instagram fed, very few pictures and all that kind of stuff. Basics would have been very welcome in that, and basics with better leg articulation even more welcome. So if I do decide to do that, to revisit that idea, then that is a thing. Let's get into it. So I quite like this basic card, and I think it's pretty interesting. It gets that nice kind of clean white aesthetic that they're going for nowadays with the packaging. We saw this a lot on WWE Hero Clicks and stuff, literally just white and the logo a little bit of red. Nice picture of LA down the side there. Of course, we've got the Chase variant, so this is in the yellow trunks. I did think about getting the red one as well. I did think about getting neither of them, but in the end I impulse bought this for the 3 reasons mentioned ahead. Well, I guess it's 4 reasons. You know, it's a Chase as well. That's novel too. I guess this little image is telling you about the improved articulation, but there's no indication that that's what it means. Okay, so slight lighting change here, guys. If you watch the outtakes at the end of the video, you'll understand why. Carrying on, the rest of the series: Brock Lesnar, The Rock, Seth Rollins, and Bianca Belair. I don't think there'd be any interest in there for me, even if I was a basic guy. But what is an interesting touch here on the back is we've got what different types of wrestler they can be, with LA Knight being a brawler here, of course. That's pretty interesting. I'd have loved that when I was a kid. You know, I'd have probably written that down. I'd probably, you know, roster what type of wrestler they are. It's just a weird little small detail, but you know, you kind of like little things like that when you're a kid. It's kind of interesting. And isn't this ironic? It's one of the first NW openings in this format where I've remembered to have scissors on hand, and it's a basic, so we're just gonna slap the one hand down, grab it with the other, and then be surprised how strong the adhesive is on these things now. We're going to peel the backing card off. Oh, look at that. It actually did come off. That's weird. The bubble doesn't go all the way to the bottom. But, I mean, I guess technically we're conserving plastic. I don't know how to feel like about that. That kind of feels pointless. Kind of feels pointless it not being there. Kind of feels pointless it being there. I don't know. I don't really know what that's saying about the packaging, but whatever. So, good chunky boy of a figure here. Basics are nice and stiff, so I don't really worry too much about loosening any joints while we're trying to get them out. And here we go. A 3-year wait ends. We have our LA Knight figure. Now, let's take a look at him. So the head mold is brilliant. I mean, especially if we compare it to the picture of him here, like the expression is slightly different. He's got a more playful expression, which is probably more in character on the figure, I think. But you know, it's pretty good. It's pretty solid. It's a very good likeness. Now, next up, we've got those yellow trunks, of course. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a big sucker for bright yellow plastic, bright yellow attire. The only thing is that when this is in low light, The red, this is a really weird and superficial complaint, but the red looks almost like a bubblegum pink, and that looks so much nicer. Like a nice bubblegum pink on this yellow would have been like really good. Another really superficial complaint is that if I was going to use him in an NWA pick fed, as mentioned before, although we do still have Eli Drake decals on the front, it does say LA Knight on the back. So that is, it's a bit of a pain, but it doesn't really matter. Of course, in this day and age, you know, I'm not a child. I could just call him LA Knight and it doesn't really matter. Again, I don't really know what to say. We've got the one taped up hand, the one elbow pad on this side. These are probably the best elbow pad. The ones with the two straps just slide down the arm for no reason. The ones that are long just give you absolutely no leeway. That is probably the best elbow pad you can get. I'm starting to feel like, as time's going on, particularly when I'm animating stuff, I'm starting to feel like the guy I used to know when I was a kid who used to take all the elbow pads off his figures. I completely get it now. The shoulders, of course, we just have like out and around. We have no bicep articulation there, of course, but I think we get most of the full range of motion between that and the elbow. What would you call that? An elbow spin? An elbow cut? An elbow turn? I don't know. And the wrist is obviously nice and stiff. We don't really have joint issues with basic figures, as I say. They're nice and sturdy. The head is nice and stiff. We've got the full range of motion there. No loose. I mean, maybe slightly loose there, but I mean, one tiny part of the neck joint. You know, I'm not going to complain about that. Again, I do find these elbows weird, but they probably are better than standard elbows. Really, I mean. I don't know, they just kind of look weird, I think. Yeah. Got the full range of motion in the shoulder, of course. Wrist is fine. The waist is fine, of course. Now, the moment of truth. Let's try out these legs. So, we've got the usual basic up leg, but we also have out. How novel is that? Basics can go out. Even in the Ruthless Aggression era, basics couldn't go out. This is really good. This is an example of a figure evolving forwards. I wasn't really convinced about the inside of the joint there. It looked a bit suspicious. It looked like it was cracked or something. I think it's just been badly refined. I think it's just not being cut particularly well. So we can go full legs akimbo with basics now. I think that's really cool. We don't really need, as I say quite often, we don't really need the thigh cut there. So in my opinion, they may as well put these legs on elites and, you know, get rid of that cut and keep a little bit more of the realism in there. We've only got single jointed knees, and these pads, on the other hand, it could be the knee, it could be the pad. I doubt it's the pad. I think it could be a bit of, I think it's a bit of both actually. It does not bend though. Does not, and that one doesn't either. I mean, we try moving the pad down. Try moving that out the way. Yeah, it's the knee. That is sensationally stiff. Like that is that is as far as I can move it with the pad right the way. I mean, let's get it right the way, fully out of the way there, and that is as far as I can move it. Okay, so that's going to need boiling. That's funny. It's funny. I'll give it that. We do have a boot cut. And these boots are very interesting because the thing that held up my Eli Drake custom is that the best body I could find was Triple H. And he had a different kind of ankle peg to most figures. So I needed the short boots to reduce the height. And also because, you know, it kind of just fits the character. But none of them had the right joint to go on a Triple H leg. And that was basically the main problem I had with finishing the custom off. Now, of course, we have the boots on an LA Knight figure. Toes actually move in these, unlike the many elites I've opened over the years where the boots, where the toe in the boot doesn't move at all. You can see again the Eli Drake decals on the bottom of his boots. I don't really know why he's stuck with the ED in WWE, but you know, I guess it shows that that's where his heart is. overall, I think this is a brilliant figure. I think they've put some effort into making this. I wasn't convinced we were going to get one. I had a strong feeling, especially in the Max Dupree days and the early LA Knight days, that he was going to be one of those people that they use wrongly and then release a year later. Luckily, they've stuck with him. He's stuck with himself, and he's managed to just suddenly get himself over, which is really cool. So thankfully, this can exist, and we have an Elite on the way as well. And even though the Elite is coming, I think that this is just really nice. You know, I saw the red one in the shop, the red basic, and I thought, you know what, it's just boring. I've never been a fan of red, especially compared to yellow. Yellow attires are my thing. But that figure just looked so dull. There was no way I was picking it up. And even when the Elite comes out, the Elite is still not going to be in bright yellow. So the Elite is still going to look nicer, I think. You know, these trunks were white when he put them on. I think it's just a sensationally well-made basic, and I'm so glad that this was the wave where they decided to change the legs. So we got better legs on LA here. Very, very grateful for that as well. So what I like to do to end my figure unboxings is talk about what this figure is going to be doing in my figure fed, theoretically. Well, as I've mentioned before, the main thing that I had planned for him was NWA pick fed stuff. And nowadays, I'm not sure if I care about the NWA pick fed. I don't know if I'm going to revisit that idea or not. Sometimes I think, like, yeah, let's do it. And sometimes I disagree with myself. That being said, even if I do it nowadays, I feel like he's too big of a name. Part of the fun with the NWA pick fed was going to be using people that didn't necessarily get the best shots in WWE, weren't necessarily the most highly regarded people, and, you know, using them in that kind of way, because I think that kind of thing is pretty cool. But now that LA Knight is like top of the pile WWE, maybe he's too big for this NWA thing, who knows? So I don't really know what the plan is. Maybe he needs to jump straight to DSW now, and maybe that's exactly what I'll do. I don't know. One thing that would help is if I ever filmed or made anything. Obviously, then we'd probably have a more clear view of what this guy would possibly be doing in DSW. But I think that's more or less everything for this video. So if you have enjoyed this, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the NWOpenings playlist in the end screen if you'd like to see more. Thank you guys for watching, and goodbye. Okay, so... No. You're literally on charge. Absolutely ridiculous. Piece of garbage. No real interest in the world there for me. I know that a lot of the interruptions I have are from my floodlight dying and me not replacing it still, but it does feel like ever since I switched to this front-facing style, as soon as I start filming a video, the entire house comes alive. Oh, dear me. Does bend a bit. These